Hello, folks. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I have got day 5 to present of our Overcome Overeating bootcamp this evening. So I am going to make this super, super short and sweet. And I'm going to get down to the point. I'm going to give you like the boiled down realizations, ahas, breakthroughs, and key takeaways that everyone is having, and also just a couple of little bullet points of what we're going to be covering tonight. So you can see if this is something that would have taken your fancy. Now, the thing is I'm not going to be doing this boot camp again. I'm not going to be doing this training. So, what's going on with my hair? So, if any of this resonates with you, if any of this is interesting, or you feel like you took away a nugget or two, let me know. Because if you did, then the next training that I do might just tickle your fancy. It might just kind of help you overcome the bullshit, the drama, the excuses, the reasons as to why you're really, really struggling to achieve your weight loss goals, or why you're struggling with a current plateau. So let's crack on with it, because I still have a couple of little slides to prepare for the bootcamp tonight. So where did we go? Where did we go? Okay, awesome. Just pulling up my notes here. Amazing. Sorry, just getting my notes. Okay, cool. So pull that in a little bit so I can actually see. There we go. So overeating is really typically something that most of us struggle with, but we don't actually recognize it and don't actually acknowledge it. If you are plateauing or you are gaining weight, then that tells me that you are overeating for what you actually need to consume. So if you're gaining weight, it means that you're overeating the amount that your body requires. If you're plateauing, it just tells me that you are consuming exactly the same amount of the right amount of fuel that your body needs to maintain that weight. So in either instance, you're still overeating for a goal weight if the goal weight is lower. But the thing is it's not always just about food. It's not just about hunger. So much of overeating is always tied to emotions and habits and deeper underlying issues that many typical diets just don't necessarily address. And so in the bootcamp this week, we've been really focusing on understanding those reasons and being able to shift our approach to weight loss so that it becomes much more sustainable and healthy, rather than just eat less food and not dealing with the emotional factors and other external factors that actually come along with it. That feels so much more sustainable and empowering, instead of feeling frustrating and making you feel hungry. So most participants are already, we're about to deliver day 5. Most participants are already incorporating new habits or tweaking up the things that they already have optimized in their body for weight loss. So one of the attendees, she was shocked with just how simple little tiny tune-ups, little tiny quarter-inch turns can make such a big difference. R has mentioned about how this bootcamp and my coaching methods are so different to any other weight loss program that she's experienced before, and she even said that it was much closer to cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is a type of therapy, right? That's how different the methods are that I teach. And she mentioned actually today about how the methods make her feel free for the first time in years. She talked about, after seeing me talk in Portsmouth, that immediately she ditched counting calories right after that talk. And since then, she's been really reveling in the idea that weight loss just doesn't have to be hard. And in fact, it can be a much more enjoyable process than it has been for her in the past. Another attendee, let's call her C, has already started recognising where in her life that she's been overeating and how to fix this. So she's mentioned that she's already relatively healthy, which is cool, but she just had a few pounds to lose, but just couldn't see where she was going wrong until the boot camp. And now she's saying that she's got fresh eyes on what needs to be adjusted and tweaked in order to promise, in order to optimize her body and her habits. And so she's putting her body in the right position to drop weight easily. One of the attendees, we're going to call her B, was also shocked to uncover that the beliefs that were sewn into her childhood were still holding her back to this day. So this is something that we talked about yesterday. It was just blew everyone's mind away. It was just so cool to see all of the breakthroughs and realizations, the aha moments yesterday. It was like I could hear pennies dropping everywhere. And with the framework that we used, we managed to unpick the process of self-sabotage. So the things that she was doing, we recognized how her behaviors were self-sabotaging symptoms. And then we kind of picked it all apart and really boiled it down to the root. And she was really, really amazed just to see how the stories that she was told to basically adopt as a kid were still ringing true in her ears today. And so we can feel like that we're following every rule, all of the rules. We can feel like we're doing all of the things. But ultimately, one story that might have been embedded in childhood, as a teenager, in early adulthood, could be the one thing that's holding you back. So we really took a deep dive into this and started figuring out like how our past stories, how our past selves are influencing our current selves, and how they're actually holding us back and bringing us back. So you might kind of feel like you've got a head start and doing things, you're maybe losing a little bit of weight, but then ultimately you can't finish that race unless every single part of you crosses that line. And we looked at how every single part of us is holding on to different trauma, different stories. And those traumas and the stories are just really, really holding us back. So that was just a beautiful realization that we had yesterday. So let's look at the key takeaways. I've kind of written them down. So key takeaway number one, we busted some really big diet myths, and we started by busting these myths around dieting that we've all fallen for. And when I asked for a raise of hands, everyone put their hands up if they've experienced that before. And that just goes to show that all of these methods that's supposed to work, they don't. So from restrictive calorie counting to fad diets, injections and pills and shakes, we recognised that there's always a loop pattern behind it. And we realised how these outdated methods not only set us up for failure, but actually damage our bodies. They put us it's one step forward, 10 steps back. And instead, we then dove into the importance of finding balance, finding how you can balance your life and the things that you do, where you nourish your body rather than punish it from all of these kind of dieting strategies, shall we say. So a key insight from that was that restrictive diets and fad methods not only set you up for failure, but can harm your body, and sustainable weight loss comes from a balanced eating, balanced diet that nourishes and not punishes. So key takeaway number two was one of the biggest challenges for women is learning how to eat in a way that actually supports their energy levels and control cravings. So we explored my super simple framework, which everyone also agreed is very, very simple. They're all already applying the framework. I had multiple attendees saying, hey, I used the framework for my dinner. Some people were like, oh, I missed this and I missed that. But everyone's already started to get the hang of it after just like one or two goes. And that's just a really, really easy way that we can build balanced, calorie-restricted meals, macro balanced meals, plant-based, that maintains blood sugar levels, right? Reduces cravings, helps us incorporate all of our macro and micronutrients. And so the system just works together so that we can ditch the counters, ditch MyFitnessPal, ditch Noom, or whatever they are, and not have to stress and worry about counting everything and being super on top of it or OCD about it. And without ever having to feel deprived. So, as a summary, one of the key insights is by focusing on balanced meals that stabilise blood sugar and provide essential nutrients, you can control cravings and feel satisfied, eliminating the need for deprivation or restriction. Key takeaway number 3. So another critical part of overcoming overeating, which has always been it's been a tongue twister for me this week, is balancing your hormones. So we covered kind of the 5 fundamental pillars of health, which you guys have seen me and heard me talk about before: water, movement, nutrition, stress, sleep management, and how each of these plays an important role in keeping our hormones in check, keeping them balanced, which then, of course, in turn directly impacts things like our hunger levels, our fullness levels, our satiety, our energy. And all of that is just like this knock-on effect that if one is off, everything else is going to be off too. So not only did we look at how we can balance hormones in a way that helps us lose weight, but how we can balance hormones in a way that makes us feel good, feel energized, feel on top of the world. And we looked at this by addressing the pillars and setting ourselves up for success in both health and weight, right? It's not just about short-term health, it's always about long-term health too. So the 5 fundamental pillars of health are essential for maintaining balanced hormones, which in turn directly impacts hunger, cravings, and energy levels. Key takeaway number 4. So we also talked about how we tend to self-sabotage our own efforts, as I mentioned, and whether it's through emotional eating, giving up when things get tough, falling into the trap of like old and bad habits. We explored how to shift our Sorry, I can just hear this noise and it's the cat like literally rummaging through the bin. We explored how to shift our identity and beliefs so that we can actually break 3 of the cycles of ourselves. We are the only people that are holding ourselves in this yo-yo dieting cycle. And so we looked at the very ways in which you can remove yourself from that cycle and get out of your own way. We did look at taking responsibility as well. And not saying it's my schedule, it's because I do this, it's because I'm a mum, it's because I've got a busy job. And we actually kind of looked at the harsh reality of every single one of those is controllable and every single one of those is your choice. So that was a bit of a tough session actually yesterday, and a lot of people took the session really, really well, and they started to recognize how we have the power, how we have the responsibility to make change for ourselves, and the fact that no one else is going to do it for us. And so I shared a really, really powerful 4-step process yesterday for us to get out of our own damn way. And then tonight we are going to talk about how overeating is typically a solution, and it could be a solution to fill a void in our life, or a solution to feeling a negative emotion. And when we feel unfulfilled or suppressed, we tend to overcompensate with food and overeating because it just makes us feel better temporarily. So tonight we're going to address the different areas of our lives that we need to change or shift, or even just face, in order to stop the desire to overeat or the cravings. So they're the big takeaways from, and something that we're going to do today from this big boot camp. And as you can see, it's not just about food. Yes, we did cover nutrition, but there's so much more about it. It's all about mindset. It's about your habits, about your beliefs. It's about your overall well-being. And this very much rings true for all overeating as well, for all weight loss as well. So you might not resonate with the fact that you necessarily overeat, but don't forget, at the end of the day, if you're either gaining or plateauing, you are overeating for what you want to see. So if you're gaining and plateauing and you want to lose weight, you need to be eating less, but you need to recognize where you're overeating to hit that goal. And so all of this boot camp, the Overcome Overeating, is just one key strategy to help you lose weight. Of course, I say one key strategy. It's been split up into 100 different things, but it's been really, really awesome. And focusing on these areas and ditching outdated methodologies has really been able to, has really opened up for the participants to finally start making some real progress towards their goals, towards their health and towards their weight, and towards sustaining a healthy weight for them. So if any of this resonates for you folks, I'd really love you to join maybe the next free bootcamp, the next free training, anything that we're doing coming up in maybe the next month. So just DM me or comment the word bootcamp, and what I'll do is I will, if I don't have any details for the next one, I will pop you on the wait list and I'll make sure that I get you some information. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. That's all of my notes and key insights from today. I very much look forward to seeing you all at the next bootcamp.